throughout. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Amanda to start the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Mallory. Well, welcome to the second public meeting, like Mallory said, for the Verbena Park improvements. This evening, what we are going to be covering the following. We'll have a brief introduction, overview of the project, as well as a summary of the community outreach, talk a little bit about design and play, and also go into more detail into the playground and sports equipment, and then how we are going to move towards a preferred plan. And as Mallory said, we will have a question and answer period at the end, as well as next steps. We will have several live polls throughout the presentation as well. Our team includes myself, Amanda Castelli from Logan Simpson, as well as Steve Sigler, who's a landscape architect, Kevin Small as well. And we also have our Denver team, including Stephanie, Mallory, and also like to thank our interpreters tonight, Manuel and Lon, and Laura, sorry, from Denver as well. I almost forgot you there. Okay. So our timeline for this project began in March 2021, where we had our first public meeting. We are now moving forward. We are here in April, May, doing our second public meeting and moving towards a preferred plan. By December of this year, we should have construction documents, drawings complete, and expect construction to begin January of 2022, and expect construction to be complete by May of 2022. So by next spring, the project should be complete. Okay, let's take just a brief look at the existing conditions. Some of this, for those of you who were at the first public meeting, some of this might be a little bit of a review, but to get everybody on the same page, this is Verbena Park, just an overview. We have the playground and the basketball court. We have several access points marked with the purple asterisks here. We have a soccer field and a baseball field, as well as a loop walk. So for this project, I'd like to just re-emphasize that these are improvements. This is not a master plan for the whole park. The scope that is included in this project includes the playground, the basketball court, as well as grading at the athletic fields. Our budget includes design and construction fees. For the budget, 55% is dedicated to the playground, 15% is dedicated to the basketball court, and about 30% is allocated to miscellaneous improvements, including the drainage. So the goal of this meeting, we really want to summarize the community outreach we have heard so far, and talk a little bit more about the improvements. And then also, this is a opportunity for the community to give us additional feedback before we move forward. So we are live. And like Mallory said, please use the chat for comments and provide your feedback as you see fit. This is being recorded and is available on Denver Park Project's website. And in case you are new to Zooms here, if you see the chat icon on the bottom, you can tap that and that will take you to the chat. So our team's outreach so far in this project includes the following. We have sent neighborhood flyers for both public meetings, information boards have been placed at the park for both public meetings prior to each meeting. After the first public meeting, we had an online survey that went out. Denver also conducted some in-person surveys at the park. And as well as Denver also attended they attended a community group meeting with the East Colfax Neighborhood Association. And again, we've had these two public meetings as well. So the next slides, we just want to summarize what we heard as a team from the first public meeting. At that meeting, we presented 2 layout options. We presented some play equipment styles. We conducted some live polls and received chat feedback. This image here in the middle of the slide just represents a lot of the words and feedback that we have received over the past month or 2. Play is really important, seating is really important, basketball, etc. We will get into that a little bit more. During that meeting, definitely heard that the neighborhood is interested in a full-size basketball court. There was a preference for a layout that included a basketball court. And if we go to the next slide here, we also wanted to get a good reading on what type of play equipment style the neighborhood was interested in. And about 63% of, and these are, I'm sorry, from the online survey, about 63% were interested in nature inspired play and 21% were interested in net climbing. And again, this top graphic just reiterates the want and need for a full-size basketball court. So also during this meeting, we would like to, this is an opportunity, like we said, to provide more feedback for us. So in the next slide, what we're gonna ask is just to verify, what we heard. Are we in agreement? Is there anything to add? I'm gonna read through these. This is a summary list of what we heard. And then we are going to open it to a live poll for you to provide us some feedback. So in summary of what we've heard so far is that this plan for the Verbena Park improvement should include a full-size basketball court. The community would like to ensure diversity, inclusivity, and multi-generational play. There is interest in adding music elements and vibrant art, as well as imaginative play equipment that reflects the neighborhood's selected theme. There is also interest in updated amenities, including seating, barbecue grills, dog waste stations, and even including fitness markers for the walkers and runners. So we are going to go ahead and do the live poll now, and you can pick the top 3 that are most important to you. And if you feel that something is not listed there, please enter it into the chat.
Okay, we've only had about 6 people vote, so try and get your votes in and put things into the chat. hopefully we can get a few more in, maybe about 30 more seconds. All right, it's slowed down a lot. So if you're about to hit your option, go ahead and do it now. And I'm going to close out. All right. Okay, I'm ending the poll. All right, so it looks like we got 60% of voting for ensuring diversity, inclusivity, and multi-generational play, 60% updating amenities, seating, barbecue grills, dog waste. And then the other top contenders were the basketball court, music elements and vibrant art, and imaginative play equipment to reflect a theme. And then there were some comments as well in the comment section. So thank you.
Great.
I can just
Thanks.
jump in and in
Sure.
the comment section, there were 2 votes for sort of a hybrid basketball and futsal court that may include volleyball as well.
Okay. Great. Thanks. Well, thank you, everyone. That really, as we move forward, we are working within a budget, within timelines. So this feedback is very valuable in helping us make those decisions as we move forward. If we, invest more in a basketball futsal court, there are trade-offs when we are designing and planning this out. So it's really great to see what the community is really interested in investing in. So how are we going to hit all those marks? Well, let's address how we can celebrate community and diversity. And there are ways that we can do that in the design. This top image here is an example of sandblasted concrete. And sandblasted means etched concrete, or you could think of it as pressed or imprinted concrete. And we can do this to existing concrete, and we can do it to new concrete. And, we can really use this to showcase imagery and words that celebrate the neighborhood, the countries that are there, languages, etc. There's also an opportunity here with a new court to paint a mural on it. That could be partnered with a local artist, could involve, community fundraising, something that's really going to truly reflect the neighborhood and include the neighborhood as well. And also just creating those gathering and seating areas for groups to hang out, to have a barbecue, and to really encourage community. Like this image here is an example of a gathering area. It can be pretty simple. We also heard a lot of feedback about the mural walls at another park in Denver. That's, again, another opportunity to incorporate that vibrant art. So right now we're going to do a live poll and just see if there are any other ideas out there on how to celebrate this neighborhood's diversity in the design of the Verbena Park improvements. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Small things can really make an impact. So please, let's just take the time to enter that into the chat.
As people enter their thoughts, Amanda, we have a question from Teresa. Is there a difference in longevity between a mural on the basketball court and a sandblasted concrete court?
It's a good question. I mean, I would imagine imagery sandblasting is going to last longer because it's, it's not seeing that active use. But, if we if the community is interested in a mural at the basketball court, I think we will definitely make sure that we take the time to make sure that the right paints are used and et cetera. But my experience with the murals, this would be a first, but I've been seeing it a lot in communities, and I also these walls that are at another park in Denver are, can see how long that paint has been up as well to help us. Okay. Anything else in the chat, Kevin? No?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, well, we'll move on if somebody thinks of it. Oh,
Amanda, we do have one, just as that came up. Richard says he likes seat walls and the idea of having a local artist paint them, sort of like that essential picture I'm thinking.
mm-hmm. Great.
And can I go ahead and actually just take a 30-second pause? We're trying to fix an interpretation issue like always. So one
That's
second.
okay.
Okay. So hold your thoughts. Lon, if you can speak now.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I think we are good. That might have fixed it. So apologies if you had trouble listening to the interpretation. Thank you, Manuel.
Amanda,
Are we ready?
We have a
Oh,
few
go ahead.
more comments in the chat.
Okay, sure.
Brendan says the best way to celebrate diversity is to ensure the design reflects expressed needs and uses from the community. For example, barbecue pits, imaginative play, hybrid basketball and futsal courts or court and volleyball. And as a community, we can organize the art.
Yes. Okay. Agreed.
Richard says, yeah, I would love some barbecue pits. So there's +1 for them. Monique says more opportunities to meet neighbors so we can connect as humans. It looks like from Street Fraternity, we have young men that can participate in art murals, co-creation of murals that are communal. And that's it for now.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so moving on, we're going to briefly touch on the updated park amenities that that are available to us moving forward. We mentioned fitness markers for those who utilize that loop walk. I think it's about, Kevin, 0.45 miles is one loop. So just indicating to people, how many loops would be a mile, kilometers. We can do that in different languages too. We also want to provide, a variety of seating, from seat boulders to the seat walls, to benches to picnic tables. So we'll be looking at all of that. These images are just examples of, I think everybody knows what a picnic table looks like, and benches. We can have benches that celebrate the theme. We can have the image below that here is just an example of what we could do to a seat wall that is a little bit more interesting and maybe offers a little play opportunity as well. And of course, your barbecue grills. And the last image down here is just an example of a fitness marker, again, sandblasted into the concrete. So we're just going to do a quick poll out and see, as we are able to update the park amenities, what site furnishings are most important to you, the fitness markers, the seating, the barbecue grills, or if there's other amenities you would like to see, please enter those into the chat. And I believe
We'll
that
launch
should
it.
pop up here.
Manuel, if you could make me host again, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
This happened last time too.
That's okay.
There we go. Okay.
Great.
All right. Okay, you should see the poll.
Great. And I think here you can choose two.
Yes.
Oh, that.
Okay, this one's moving a little faster. If you have a vote, I'm going to be closing it soon, about 15 seconds. Okay, closing. So 90% like seating. And barbecue grills come up next, then fitness markers and other. It looks like we've got pavilion or shade, as well as seating with shade and shade, as concrete can be hot in the summer.
Sure. Great. Thank you. Is it okay if I close that, Laura? The polls. There we go. Great. So we're going to move on into a little bit more detail into the playground and the court. Just going to revisit what the existing playground looks like and why we're doing this. The existing playground currently has sand surfacing, and sand surfacing is not accessible. It is not ADA accessible. So if a kid was in a wheelchair, it'd be really difficult for them to use this play equipment. The access ramp into the play pit also needs to be replaced and brought up to code. The play structures are dated, and the play pit drainage also needs to be addressed. The existing basketball court is undersized currently. The asphalt surface needs to be replaced, and there's not much of a buffer between the basketball court and the playground, or the basketball court and the adjacent walk. So taking a closer look at the court, or the basketball court, moving forward, we really want to make sure that we have spectator seating near the court, where we also have heard a lot of great feedback on possibly making this a multi-use court, and exactly what that looks like we'll get into a little bit more here. A multi-use court, could look as simple as a basketball court with multi-use goals at the end that could also be used for futsal or soccer. Futsal, for those of you who might not know, and I apologize if I don't explain this 100% correctly, but it's a football game played on a hard surface with about 5 players on each team. And the court tends to be bigger than your average size or full size basketball court. We've discussed the mural opportunity that's here for the community afterwards, after construction. And one thing that we have heard is really just making sure that the basketball court and the playground are well buffered. So there's limited user conflict, if you will. So let's just take a quick step back. And this map is just an overview of Verbena Park. It may seem like there is a lot of open space out there, but truly at the north end of the park, we have a 200-foot baseball field. And in the centrally located in the park is the multi-purpose field. So we are working within those constraints. So there's 2 possible locations for this court. We have a north location. This could run east-west, it could run north-south, depending on grading and tree removal. And we will take a brief look at that next. And we could also place the court where it currently is now. Again, there's some challenges with that I will touch upon. And one issue with the existing court now is the proximity to the playground. And if we want that buffered, then maybe the north location might make more sense. So like I mentioned before, about full-size basketball court is about 50 feet by 94 feet. A futsal court I know varies, but the size we were looking at is 66 feet by 131 feet. So you can see that is substantially larger than a full-size basketball court. Larger does mean, more money. So like we mentioned before, there can be trade-offs here, right? So if we take a closer look at the existing basketball court location, I wanted to make sure that we all understand the spacing and the trade-offs with keeping the court where it is. So this gray square here is the existing half-size basketball court. And to the south, we have the playground. If we look at doing a full-size court here, that would be the orange dashed line. If we look at a potential futsal court, we are looking at this blue dashed line. And this could leave us some space to buffer between the courts and the playground. The trade-off here is a large futsal court. It's going to be a grading challenge between the court and the edge of the multi-purpose field here, as well as losing more existing trees. So looking at maybe possibly a court moving to the north. This is the north location that we're zoomed in on up here.
Hey, Amanda,
Yes.
I wanted to jump in and interrupt real quick because we have another
Sure.
comment in the chat. Okay. And so Brendan's got a good comment that a hybrid court is generally in kind of intermediate size between the basketball and futsal.
Right.
So it looks like 84 by 50, if that's just to take that into consideration.
Sure, and we'll touch upon that during the live poll here. It's a good comment. So with this footprint of a futsal court, right, those are the blue lines. It can fit up here in the north. If we have it run north-south, there's a potential to lose a tree. Just as that comment suggested, there are multiple ways to do this. We can have a full-size basketball court, period, at 50 by 94. We can have a futsal size court with basketball lines. So we, again, addressing that multi-use, or we can have a full-size basketball court, which would be about, keeping it at 50 by 94. So it's for basketball, but it also includes futsal goals and futsal lines. So to just get everybody's feedback, I think the first question that we would like to ask is, which location do you prefer for the court, regardless of what it ends up being? You know, and we can have that question pop up now. We are looking at either the north or keeping it where it is.
Amanda, as people answer this question, we have a question in the chat that might be pertinent. And it is,
Sure.
if the basketball court is moved, what happens to the existing court?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be returned to turf?
Well, we have, I think in my mind, and we're not quite there yet. I think it would also be a good opportunity for some of that community gathering space, those barbecue grills, future shade structure. So more of a community plaza, since it's already a disturbed, but we, could add some landscaping beds to soften the edges and to buffer it from, the games that are going on in the field and in the playground. So.
As we're getting some of the questions or the responses into the poll, there's another question about different sizes available to work with in square footage in the north versus current, because I think that would impact what people want to do.
Sure. I think a bigger court is more possible in the north location than the existing location. So if there is a strong desire to have a larger, truer futsal court size, then that would most likely be in the north.
Okay.
I think if we keep it to a full-size court, there's potential to leave it where it is. Good
We have
question.
a couple folks advocating for keeping as many trees as possible, with some supporting information that says losing trees hurts wildlife and reduces shade. Teresa says, I agree, along with the community art. Maybe we can get the community involved in tree planting. We have lost several trees in the past couple of years. Keeping trees is important, from Judy. And then Stephanie says, I think visibility in the north location is also limited, and if the funding is unavailable, it will be returned to turf.
Okay, I am going to close the poll soon. So if you're unsure, you don't have to vote, but I'm going to go ahead and show the results right now, or 5 seconds. Okay. Okay, I'm going to end the polling. And it was a really close one for a while at the end there, maybe thinking about it more, a few more people ended up voting for north versus existing, but it's a close one.
Okay.
I guess numbers don't look as close, but it was slow for the beginning.
Yes, okay. Well, then let's just jump into the next one, which is, which type of court do you prefer? And if constraints or grading and size is feasible, right? So as we move forward, we will, as we get into more detail, need to address the grading and things like that. And we do want to try to save the trees, working with the Denver Forestry as well. So the question is, which type of court do you prefer if constraints for grading and size is feasible? So your choices are full-size basketball, futsal full size with basketball lines, or full-size basketball with futsal lines. So it would be basketball only or some combination.
Okay, and I got a question of how many people are participating in the poll. It's only about 10, 11 people that are participating. I wonder if, some staff or city council are not participating in that, of course. So yes, this is not a definite 100, we're not taking the polls as 100% of what we do. So, oh, and I keep forgetting to turn off my video and turn it on. Okay, so we need a few more votes on this one. I'll give it about 30 more seconds.
And I'll just chime in here too. Richard says he voted quick, but now he likes the north option after the discussion for the last poll.
Okay.
And I think it's maybe important to say that this is, to the best of our ability via Zoom, sort of an open dialogue. So if you do have changes apart or new ideas after a poll comes out, feel free to just add them in the chat.
Sure.
It'll be recorded.
So if anyone wants to get their last vote in, I'm going to go ahead and end it in a few seconds. Okay. This one had a few less people. Yep, maybe because of the comment that just came in. Full-size basketball and full-size basketball with futsal lines came in as the top two here. Again, less people voting, perhaps if they're not basketball players or futsal players. That could be why.
Right. No worries.
Oh, I forgot to share results. There you go. That's what I was looking at.
And I think there is opportunity as well. You know, we do hear volleyball as well. So, you know, we can look into including volleyball lines, you know, truly make this a multi-use court. Okay.
I would just jump in real quick, Amanda. This is Steve as well. That it's a possibility that we could reclaim, if the basketball court moved north, that area could be reclaimed as a volleyball court next to the playground area. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good point.
Two more questions here. The first one is, if there's a mural and two sets of sports court lines, it could get confusing. I suppose that's more of a statement than a question, but a concern worth noting.
Sure.
And then, they're bouncing around on me. And then a question, what happens if there's a basketball game and a baseball game at the same time?
I think if I go back, so if we look at the overall plan, you know, this is 200 feet out to the outfield here, to this black dotted line, and then maybe a good, you know, 20 feet here to the basketball court. I think for the most part, people that use that field or youth, I'm not sure they're hitting 200 feet, but if we do have people using that field, you know, we could look into a fence on that side of the basketball court. But right now it feels like there's enough space there and it should be safe.
I can, just to chime in on that too, the 200 feet is a typical distance for 12-year-old baseball. Maybe pushing down towards 11 years old as things change a little bit. And this field is primarily designed for probably 8 and 9 or younger, maybe even like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely an issue.
Thanks. Okay, so we're gonna zoom into the playground, and our goals with this playground is to offer play to different age groups, to be inclusive. So inclusivity goes beyond transfer stations that you probably have traditionally seen. It's about equity, not just equality. So it's about making sure that all kids of all abilities are able to parallel play and play with each other and not be separated. We want to consider multi-generational play. You know, what are the opportunities for parents, grandparents to interact with their kids? You know, there definitely has been an expressed interest in music play. And also, you know, how can we incorporate this celebration of diversity and also the history of the neighborhood into the playground? So just taking just a brief look, you know, we're mostly looking at the existing play pit that is there now. And we have some opportunity here, these red dashed lines, to expand as we might need or as budget allows, to include some of these items. Just space-wise, to give you an idea, this swing, this is a single bay swing, and then also a big giant tire swing. So this is sort of a an individual swing with a group swing, which takes up about 20% of the existing play pit. So that just gives you an idea of, this play equipment and what room we're working with. A lot of these pieces have safety zones that we need to consider and move around. So these are all things we take into consideration moving forward. We do have this, area up here adjacent to the playground, to the existing, play pit, where we can potentially expand into some seating or use it for play if we need to. We need to be aware that there is an existing light pole here and some existing trees as well. And also making sure we give adequate area for playground access, inclusive play pieces such as play panels here that don't need to be in the play pit, as well as that ADA accessible ramp into the play pit. So I'm going to show some images just so you get a better idea and feel for what some of these pieces look like when we're talking about them. We always make sure to include ADA swings, that there's an option there. We are looking at inclusive play panels that include music and sound and sensory panels as well. There's a lot of great inclusive play spinners out there that are fun for all kids and all abilities. These images are just examples of music play, drums, xylophones, and these are great. Oftentimes they don't require a fall zone, so they can be outside of the play pit. And again, addressing that multi-generational play with you and me swings, or just even seek and finds that you can do, kids can do with their parents and grandparents, and always making sure there's a quiet space for that child or that kid who is feeling a little overwhelmed. So this is the fun part, I hope, for everybody here. Not being able to see everybody's faces, I can't quite gauge the excitement, but what we really are looking for here is theming. And theming for the playground equipment is a really great way to celebrate the neighborhood or just expand upon a theme that is intriguing to the kids, to the community. What we've heard so far, is that people really like the net climbing and nature-inspired play. These are some other ideas that we have heard. We have heard submarine. We have heard airplane. I know that this park is located near an old runway. So that theme could work really great here. And as well as maybe an air-sea adventure theme. So like this image here, maybe you don't go so as literal with the airplane idea, but maybe it's about being in the air and being in the sea. And we've heard multiple times on the treehouse theme. So, these two images, I think, give good representations of that, with the tower idea, just getting really high up there. And this one down below, again, is a great tower play feature, treehouse. The other images that we have here are submarine. The play equipment manufacturers we work with can really work with us on these themes and really go all out. So we're going to do the live poll now and just see what everybody's thinking. If there's a theme that's really really shows up as a popular one, that will really help us moving forward and really get to see your feedback in the playground.
And Amanda, while people are voting, and not to backtrack too far, but just to get it on the record, there's an idea to for the possibility of 2 smaller courts, just as in PBA, as an option on either the south or north, could be doable.
Okay.
And we just need a few more votes. So I'll give it 15 seconds. Or you can write something into the chat.
And this is our last live poll before the question and answer period. So
Okay. Oh, we got a few more in. I'm going to end.
looks like we have a tie.
Okay. We did have a little tie. Treehouse and Air and Sea Adventure are both up there. Airplane and Other, which we don't have those ideas yet in. So if you put Other, make sure to put a chat in there as well. Theme might be less important than how the design looks. So that would be a good next step conversation. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, back to you. You can probably close. I'm not sure if yours is auto
Sure.
closing.
There we go.
There we go.
Great. Good feedback. Another way besides the play equipment, we talked about the sand and what will go in its place. And it's really important too when we do dive into the design and the play pieces, especially those that are ADA accessible, inclusive. We really take a good look at the playground surfacing, and playground surfacing can be artificial turf, as seen in this example up here in the upper right. And it does meet, all the impact codes and requirements. What you typically would see and what is most economical really is this engineered wood fiber. And it is ADA accessible, so somebody can push a wheelchair over it. It's not going to be as easy as turf, or in this image, this is poured in place. It's called poured in place, and this is a rubberized surfacing. And this is where we can oftentimes bring in Keller or celebrate the theme a little bit more, and it's really easy for somebody to push a wheelchair. So you will often find this under a swing or inclusive play pieces. So these are all surfacing choices that we will be looking at, including. Okay, so moving forward, how do we move forward? So our next steps is moving towards a preferred plan. Again, looking at that full-size basketball court, and it sounds like we definitely need to look at making that multi-use and include seating as well for that, possibly in that north location. We will be replacing the play equipment. And again, checking those boxes of inclusivity, multi-generational age groups, and also incorporating a theme that works within the playground, but also works in the larger context of the park. We will be including some community gathering space with a variety of seating, possibly some barbecue grills. And we will be looking at updating amenities, replacing the former benches that have been taken out of the site, maybe putting in some of those distance fitness markers, dog waste stations, just little things that we can do to upgrade the park and make it more user-friendly. And again, we will be looking at repairing drainage at the athletic fields and repairing irrigations, two things that are not easy things, easy fixes. But so that concludes, the presentation. I hope everybody feels that they are up to speed and that they've had a voice in how we're moving forward. So if there are any questions, feel free to use the chat. I'm sure there are lots of questions. So. Or maybe not.
Yeah, we have some right now,
Okay.
Amanda. I'll kind of
That's
start
okay.
the top and work my way down.
Sure.
So the first one is about lighting. There was a note in one of the plans about an existing light pole, and not to deviate from the intention of the meeting being about the park, but is lighting around the park in the plan for safety and sports play after dark?
I don't believe lighting is in our scope at this point. Stephanie, does anybody want to chime in on that?
I'll jump in, Amanda. So yeah, it is currently not in the scope. There is existing lighting within the park, but it's not the program for neighborhood parks is never to encourage after dark, after hours
Right.
activities. So providing lighting and for that wouldn't be what Denver Parks would want to have happen.
Next, the next comment is, I believe, is in reference to play themes, but it was that we might want to think about getting input from the kids. Then we have a comment that says, want to lift up that there was a desire at an ECNA meeting for keeping a smaller sand pit. So there is still an option to play in the sand.
I think that's something that we are speaking with Denver about, and the maintenance operations staff, if we are allowed to have sand. So we can take a look at that. We are, working, like I said, within the existing footprint of the playground, and we really want to maximize how we're addressing the age groups, et cetera. But we will continue that talk with Denver moving forward if we can have sand play.
There's another comment that says, when I previously asked about this, was told this is an Excel issue. I'm guessing that's in reference to the lighting. If you want to clarify in the chat, Meredith, go ahead. And then I'll keep moving. For the possible volleyball net, pre-COVID, there was a sizable group of volleyball players that regularly came to play. Is there any way to reach them and get their input?
Yeah, I'll take that one. It's possible for us to reach out to volleyball players at this location. In fact, some of the next steps that we hope to use would be to actually go out to the park, talk about kind of what we've been talking about this evening, and get some additional input. I know there was also a comment about youth voice. So with going out to the park and talking to families already using the playground, that would be ideal. If there's a way that we're not really hearing that youth voice, because that's really important when we're talking about a playground project, we'll seek out ways that we can get in touch with the local schools. It's going to be tough because schools are almost on their summer break, but that's definitely important. So we'll try and kind of follow up on site to get that additional input, as well as that input from the volleyball players.
Can I comment, if that's okay?
Go for it.
Mallory, I do know some of the young women that do play the volleyball at the park, so happy to connect with them. And then a quick comment I wanted to make was just a comment on the poll. I know comments were available, and thank you for bringing it up, Kevin, and the comment I put on there. I'm going to sound like a salesman here, but as I mentioned at the ECNA meeting, as you all understand, and I'm inspired and encouraged to speak now when Mallory is speaking about the youth. As you all understand, 2026, Denver is trying to put the World Cup bid in. And so having the futsal even as a discussion and idea on this is wonderful. I could be a witness to say there could be hundreds and hundreds of youth that could come out to the futsal and basketball court and use it. Just wanted to give an example of, I understand there's 15% available, which would mean $123,750 that could go towards this basketball court. I just want to share an idea of if we can get a basketball court and a futsal court. I have confirmation numbers with lighting, by the way, lighting that could also be turned on and off automatically. The city and county of Denver can set the time when you want it to be on and when you want it to be off. This type of lighting would not reflect outside of the courts or hit any of, it would not be a concern to neighbors. It would just be lit and shone onto the courts. And that would only cost, for a court that's 74 foot by 96 foot, it would cost $155,000 for one big court. If we decided to go for two courts, the courts that are 50 feet by 84 feet, as Brendan mentioned, over at PBA Academy, they have a smaller court, 70 foot by 40 foot, I believe. But if we decide to go by a 50 foot by 84 feet courts, two courts, it would cost $184,000. And so, and then that difference as a community, I know I've spoken with Brendan offline, as a community, we can also be willing to fundraise if there is a gap to fill those funding, because it is a huge need in community for young adults to have space, right? I also agree with other community folks that have brought up the trees. I dislike the ideas of one tree, even at that, or even 10 trees being cut down. However, at the same, even while disliking that though, it is also the health, right? It's the health of the kids, it's the health of the youth, it's the health of the young adults who will consistently and frequently, whether it be springtime, fall time, summertime, including winter, the beautiful weather that we have in Denver, where the snow is on the ground and the next day it's gone, that park will be very busy. And so I'm trying to sound like a salesman. So not only for the immigrants and refugees who are in that neighborhood, but also the local born youth, right? Especially with the World Cup coming up right now, this would be an ideal time also to have something in East Colfax that just got to get done. And so I just wanted to say on behalf of myself and the community, like, it's wonderful that everyone is speaking about this. This has been a huge need, not only the last 5 years, but for a decade and a half, as long as I've been around in that neighborhood, you know? And so it's wonderful to see all of this. And I just want to go ahead and put it out there, myself, East Colfax Community Collective folks, and many other folks, we'd be willing to fundraise on our ends. And I actually spoke with an anonymous donor who's guaranteed me $25,000 to $30,000 that he could pitch in himself for this court. And so we're willing to support this effort as a community, and hopefully the right decisions come into place so that hundreds of youth will be able to use that space. Thank you all.
Great, thank you.
Can I just wanted to add something, if that's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, just one of the things that we have been talking about is, and I think Yoel, the number that I was seeing was 155,000 for a double court. That includes lighting, and it would be 92,000 for the single court. That's 50 by 84. And
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, and just to add, you know, one of the reasons why we think we should consider the possibility of doing a double court is so that we have two hybrid courts, so that, you know, there is the option for people to be playing basketball as people are playing futsal. And I think that with the square footage that you guys laid out, it feels like there's probably the room to do something like that. The question I would have for the city folks, and we have been in touch with a company that the city already partners with, you know, that has skill in building these courts, and we would love to set a follow-up meeting to talk more about it with you all. But do you guys have an estimate of how much it costs just to do the surfacing, just to lay down the concrete surfacing for like per square foot?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I could quote some asphalt, you know, square foot numbers. I mean, that's the type of surfacing that I think our budget allows. But, you know, again, we're not quite at that level yet of cost estimating. Once we have a preferred plan, that's where we'll do the cost estimating. But, you know, it's a little more, I think you have to also consider the grading that goes with it, right? That's at a cost, the demolition. So there's other costs involved that we need to consider in the design as well. But I think, I guess I had a quick question. If you could go over those sizes again, because I think we also don't want to eliminate the possibility of basketball. And as much as I'm sure we would love to give two courts, I think that may start to take away from the play, quite frankly. We would have, it comes with trade-offs, unless you're doing fundraising and you work with the city, right? So it's not a no, but in terms of the budget, we do have those trade-offs.
I was just going to say, Amanda.
Oh, go ahead, Steve. Yep.
Can you flip back
Sure.
onto the site analysis screen and just kind of,
Sure.
one of the things that when we're talking about the trade-offs and the fit, we do have considerations when you can see the amount of trees within the area there. There's also underground utilities, irrigation lines, there's drainage, which in particular is, one of the issues that we're trying to solve with this, how these fields work or don't work. And so, even though when we look at that, there are things that you may not be seeing just at this 10,000 foot level of underground lighting, utilities, drainage. And so the space, we'll have to get a little bit further into the analysis and design before we know if it's a possibility, if the space is there. Does that make sense as we're lining these out?
Yep. No, I think it's a good point. This is a drainage basin here, so there's an outlet here. So we have to kind of honor those contours here to allow the park to drain properly. We have an existing inlet here that captures that water that flows into here. And we have another existing inlet here where there are lots of utilities. I think there's water, storm coming through here. That's why you don't quite see a court footprint here, as well as all the electrical lines that attach that's why the north location and existing location are possibilities. So yeah, I think great feedback. I think it's awesome that the community is willing to fundraise for that. And, as we move forward, I would love to learn more about futsal and, make sure we get the right size court in there. So thank you.
And just for a comment, in case maybe I didn't clarify, what I was saying with the mini pitches and what Brendan was saying, that would also include basketball. So it would be both.
Okay.
Yeah, and the ones like Place Bridge Academy is, a school that a lot of our neighborhoods kids go to, and they installed two side by side courts that are 84 by 40. And that could be, hybrid courts. And then another example is like an 84 by 50, which would be a standalone court that would be pretty close to basketball regulation size.
Yeah, maybe I'll go visit Place Bridge Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you both for providing that information. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but I will be sure to follow up with you both about all of this information you provided, as well as reaching out to some more community to get some input, since we, got participation tonight, but not as much as we, always hope for. So we will definitely follow up with you. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who participated this evening and continues to kind of keep their interest in this project and be involved as much as possible. So thank you so much. And thank you to the team for presenting this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Side note for the planners, if you wouldn't mind just keeping in mind the litter. That's my biggest issue. And I put that in there are so many people who there is just buckets of trash next to the garbage cans, which and Richard was putting in there. I walk around with a bag with my dog every day and pick up trash. And not that there's not enough trash cans and I don't actually know how to solve it. But just keeping in mind, if we have barbecue pits and if we have all those kind of things, that's more litter, that's more people just throwing chicken bones so my dog can choke on it. I'm very nervous.
Yeah. Okay.
And
I hear you.
we're certainly going to go through all the chat in detail after this meeting as well, but there's a number, you're not alone. There seems to be a number of people with similar comments about litter and dog waste and
dog waste.
Conversation that
Yeah.
is on our.
I've yelled at a number of people in that park and I want to stop doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.